to Game Nation. I'm Russell Pierce.
And I'm Brian Bonardi.
We have plenty of stories for you today, and Brian?
Yes.
I just have to bring this up really quick.
All right.
You're really clumsy.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Brian, before the show even started, almost ruined the entire day for us.
Oh, dear God.
He decided it was a good idea to mix electronics and water right before the show started. So I'm just hoping there's no issues with that.
There shouldn't be. I got all the water up. But pretty much what happened was, before the show started, I decided, you know what? I'm going to have some pizza. Now, as most of you know, pizza has cheese on it. And if you
Really, Brian? Really? There's cheese on pizza?
Shut up. Let me get to my point.
Okay.
Now, the point I'm bringing up is this. Dairy products and a lot of talking don't mix. And a lot of my friends of mine who do theater can agree with me on this.
Yes, I remember when I used to act.
Oh, that's right. You did theater too. I forget.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a drink of water. Got my drink of water, had a few sips. Whoop! Falls out of my hand onto all of my equipment. At that point, I'm like, oh, dear God, no.
Yeah. It was like the water temple, but like with a laptop.
It was like actually, that brings up a good, interesting story, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's actually a good way to start right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
So pretty much, recently Nintendo, now there's a lot going on with Nintendo, we'll get to that in a minute, but Nintendo recently announced a new Zelda game for the 3DS, with one of which I'm really excited for. Reason being is, if you remember our very first episode where I listed my top 5 favorite games, one of them was A Link to the Past on the Super NES.
Yeah, and this does take place in the Link to the Past universe.
I think they said it's a direct sequel or like a pseudo sequel.
It seems to be, from what I'm reading here, it's not a direct sequel, but it's more like a spiritual sequel.
Okay.
But that's pretty much how all the Zelda games are, short of Majora's Mask.
Well, there's an actual continuity to the Zelda games, but
they're all spiritually connected to each other as opposed to direct connections usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one actually sounds really interesting. Link to the Past universe, like I said, it's going to use a lot of 3DS functionalities.
All right, so you can pretty much imagine the touch screen being like the inventory screen or
that's standard DS functionalities. But I mean, the way I'm imagining is there's going to be different modes. From what I'm reading here, actually, there's going to be a way to shrink yourself down to paper thin form. Like think of like Paper Mario.
Okay.
In the Zelda universe, which I can see them using the 3D styling for that in a really interesting way.
That would be pretty cool.
But yeah, that's definitely
that is awesome. Yeah. Awesome game. They didn't announce a release date for it yet.
They're talking by around Christmas.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. Get in on that Christmas rush where a lot of big games are coming out this Christmas. A lot of things are happening this holiday.
Yeah.
But because we got a bunch of system launches, we got whole new things, and like I said earlier, Nintendo recently, I found this out last night. Nintendo announced last night, I forget the time I saw it, but announced last night that they're not going to be holding a big conference at E3 this year. Now, that does not mean they're not going to be at E3. They're going to be at E3. But they're going to be doing 2 more smaller conferences, like a small conference totally dedicated towards the developers and another conference for the press.
Well, that makes sense, though. They really have not much. They don't have many huge announcements they need to make. I mean, the Wii U is already out.
The Wii U is out.
They don't have any new handheld coming out anytime soon. The 3DS is. They're just making peripheral changes to the 3DS.
Yeah.
The XL, and maybe they might go another route with another one. But the way I'm looking at it is that without any major announcement, it would just be a waste of time and money for Nintendo to actually have a gigantic press conference. I mean, they've been making a lot of micro announcements via using Twitter and other social media mediums to get it out. Like recently, they announced that they are going to be doing a lot of game downloads for the 3DS. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, that's actually a great thing. As I mentioned in one of the previous shows, I always have my DS with me, and I love to play it. So I've been playing Pokemon like crazy lately. Beat Pokemon White recently. I'm gearing up for the 3D ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like I personally don't have a DS yet, but the Pokemon games are
3DS.
3DS, same difference.
Yeah.
The new Pokemon games is pretty much one of the main this Zelda game as well.
Yeah.
Are some of the main reasons why I'm tempted to buy a 3DS later this year.
It was like I was saying though, they're allowing for a lot of these downloads, and the way I look at it is when I first got my 3DS, and I logged on, I looked at the listings of games. I was kind of disappointed. There wasn't really a lot there to download. I was like, I was expecting a little bit more. So the fact that they're going that route is really good, and especially considering the fact that Nintendo has always been known for its handhelds. Really,
they have. Their console. Like I've been saying this time and time again. Now, as far as I know, I've so far been proven wrong on my statement. But my statement.
Then why say it?
Mm-hmm.
Then why say it?
Because I like saying it.
Okay, have fun.
My statement, pretty much being that sooner or later, Nintendo may step out of the home console market and stay on the handheld. Now, and the reason I'm saying this is based on what I'm seeing so far in terms of Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS. Both of those systems had terrible launches. There were no games for them whatsoever. And Nintendo, since I want to say the GameCube era, has not been really great with third-party support. First-party support, their games are amazing.
They have all the big names, Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
These names, those are probably the three most household names in all of
Star Fox.
No, but I'm talking the three main ones I just mentioned are probably the three biggest household names in terms of video games. I mean, if you were to ask anybody on the street to name a video game character or a video game series, they're probably going to name one of those three right off the bat.
Probably, I would agree with you there.
There's a big chance that they're going to name those.
But the reason I'm saying, so far I've been proven wrong on this is last quarter, Nintendo posted a 674% increase in their profits, and I'm like, wait, what? But their systems had terrible launches. Their launch library was.
Well, the reason why they made so much money with the Wii, not the Wii U, with the Wii was because they capitalized on the fact that the 360 and the PS3 were both highly expensive at the time when they came out. I mean, if I recall correctly, it was $600 for the PS3, $500 for the Xbox 360.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly. And as the Wii came out, I think it was $250 at the start or $200.
It was $250.
$250, which is much more reasonable, and also it was kind of a novelty to be able to. It was really the first interactive.
Also, the Wii was targeting a totally different audience than Xbox and PS3. Xbox and PS3 were, of course, targeting the hardcore gamers, the ones who were like, okay, I'm going to get this system, and this is my system for life, or something along those lines. Now, I have all systems. I have all of them, mainly because, well, I can.
Yeah. I had a 360. I never had a Wii. I gave up my 360. I just never used it for anything.
Your brother does.
Yeah, my brother. Well, we had at one point we had 3 360s in my house. My brother had 2 for absolutely no reason. I think he's since sold one. But actually, I traded my 360 straight up for my 3DS, and I have not.
You don't regret that decision?
I do not regret that decision in the slightest.
Yeah.
But the PS3 and the 360 were definitely targeting a different audience than the Wii, and that was one of the reasons why they were able to capitalize on that. Was because targeting families that parents who want to buy something for their kid are definitely more apt to buy something of that price than something of say $600.
Right.
And that really hurt Sony a lot down the line. I think that's one of the reasons why they are trying to go they're trying to get out and capitalize the market before Microsoft this time around.
Well, there was that, and then there was also the fact that developers were having the biggest example of this is Skyrim, actually.
Yeah.
The developers had a really, really hard time developing games for the PS3, like transferring data, like converting the data over, because the processors were so different from each other.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, they were using completely different technology.
Exactly.
One's using DVD, one's using Blu-ray. They require completely different processors.
They did. Yeah. Which is why Sony now has gone a completely different route with the PS4. They pretty much stuck with, PC parts for the system and, high-end overclocked PC part.
Well, overclocked for now. Eventually, that's gonna degrade as time goes down.
Probably, but it's a whole different system nowadays. But in terms of like Nintendo going, like I've heard a lot of people tell me that Nintendo, the fact that Nintendo's not having a big conference in E3 is going to hurt them at all. No, it's not. It's not. Because here's what's Nintendo's marketing strategy right now. They completely restructured their marketing strategy. They have the Nintendo Direct videos, which is their basic way of getting like the big news stories that they want to get out there.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of those.
I've seen like one or two of them, but they're very informative. The other way, of course, is what they're doing at E3, like I said, 2 smaller conferences, one for the developers and one for the press. Now, it may be the exact same conference for both.
Probably will be.
There may be 2 totally different conferences. Like, the developer one may show more of, like, the developing benefits of the Wii U, like what you can do with the Wii U. Also, guys, just so you know, if you want to, like, join in on our conversation, you can give us a call at all at area code 347-327. That was my first foul of the episode. I forgot to turn my phone on silent. If you heard a thwang, that was my phone. I have a message for me, sir. I have to put it on silent right now. But
they don't need to know your life story, Brian.
I'm sorry. I'm on a tirade. I got to continue my train of thought.
Okay, get back.
But pretty much, like I said, if you want to call us, go ahead and call us on the station. It's 347-327-9451. You can get us in touch with there, join the conversation. Also, we have a chat room, so if you go onto the website right now, like blogtalkradio.com /Mathis Interiors, look for the Game Nation stream that's going on right now. Join the chat room that's on there. Get your thoughts across to us anyway like that. But pretty much, like I was saying with Nintendo, the 2 smaller conferences, you're going to see a lot of information. So I have no idea what they're going to be doing with that, but we'll see once E3 comes around. But right now, I feel like we're kind of running out of steam on this topic, so I feel like
I think you need a drink of water, too. You sound like your voice is starting to go.
Like I said, dairy products and talking don't mix.
Oh, yeah, but but as I said, since we've been talking a little bit about it, Xbox had a few announcements recently.
Oh, my God.
Microsoft in general.
Microsoft in general had a lot of things going on in the past 2 weeks. The biggest one that of late is Microsoft finally announced a date and time for their press conference pre-E3 on where they're going to reveal the Durango. The Durango, of course, being the code name for the new Xbox. It's going to be May 21st of this year, and the time you can catch it on any like major gaming website, or I think they're going to air it on Spike TV as well. It's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. Pacific. They posted it as a Pacific time, which annoys me because I had to figure out the math to know the Eastern time.
You don't know how to do
Brian math.
Oh my God.
Brian math.
Oh my God. It's 3-hour difference, Brian.
Yes, I know that now.
3 hours. It's not that huge a math.
Yes, we have actually about the one of our commenters on the Facebook page just brought up the Xbox. We were actually about to go into the specs on the new Xbox.
So let's read the specs first, and then we'll address the question.
Pretty much. Well, the question pretty much like goes hand in hand with it. As far as we know right now, this is from a rumored article I read a while back in February. Just to give you some perspective.
This isn't as current as it possibly can be.
No. There is some current capabilities, but right now, in terms of processing, we're looking at like an 8-bit, an 8-core. An 8-core 64-bit processor.
8-bit would be ridiculous.
You might as well be talking about an Atari 2600.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
That would be.
Hold on that thought. A fully internet capable Atari 2600. Think about that for a second. That's a good one.
The same comments on my flub of speech. Thank you.
8 bits. I'm talking Pong over the internet now. This is good. This is
internet
good stuff.
Pong. That would be awesome.
We might actually be able to make this for like $4.
Not even. Another commenter goes, now I want my Atari.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, so let's get back to these.
So pretty much to the Xbox specs, right now we're looking at 8-core 64-bit processor. Whether it's going to be Intel-based, AMD-based, we're not sure. It could be a totally independent in-house processor. We don't know.
DirectX 11 processor.
Yeah, and possibly it's going to be, from the rumors we've heard, it's possibly going to be, now the commenter mentioned that it's probably going to be an NVIDIA GTX series processor. Now, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, let's try to at least sum it up a little bit for those who don't really.
Pretty much,
kind of
the
stuff,
GTX
like
series.
myself.
Yeah, for those who aren't as tech savvy as others, myself included, I'm barely tech savvy as is. I had to look up some of this information on Wikipedia or stuff like that.
And a collective sigh from every single college professor in the world that you mentioned Wikipedia, might I add.
Yeah, that too.
So go on.
But pretty much, NVIDIA has their GTX series of graphics processors, which are, and he mentioned the 700 series, which is a pretty powerful processor. The one I'm seeing that they're possibly going to use is an AMD 7000 series graphic processor. And those are pretty much the two top-of-the-line processors on the market right now for PCs. Oh, the 700 series doesn't exist yet. Like I said, my own information is skeptical. I don't know this stuff off the top of my head. I just know games. But in terms of power, from what we're seeing, it's about in the same spectrum as the PS4 processor.
How about the memory, though? How's the memory looking?
Memory-wise, it's pretty much, now, this is where I got into a lot of trouble with, because I was trying to do a comparison between the PS4 memory. Sony said that their memory processor was 8 gig of GDDR5 memory, whereas the Xbox is going to be doing 8 gig of DDR3 memory. Now, I have no idea what GDDR...
We're going to have to bring on somebody eventually that can explain these things.
GDDR5, or whatever that memory means. So I looked online for it. I found an article explaining it. It was so full of techno jargon that I might have well been reading kanji. I was that confused. I was looking at it and going, okay, so it is video card memory. That I figured, but I don't know how it is in comparison to DDR3 memory. If anyone can give us a comparison or anything like that, would be much appreciated.
One of our commenters is actually...
he's pretty tech-savvy, apparently.
He's actually very tech-savvy. He's basically explaining to us that DDR3 is just standard RAM, and I say we just... You know what? We should get this caller to call in and explain that.
Well, we would, but
we could do it at the next show.
We could do it at the next show, have him call in, give a better explanation. We would have you call in now, but, yes. He's apparently he's at his job.
Okay.
He's apparently at work right now. Do your work. Do your job. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. So let's just forget that for now.
Okay.
We're getting a little.
The next one is a huge possibility. Apparently, according to the rumors right now, it's possible that the new system will have mandatory Kinect support. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Kinect. I don't even have one. I refuse to buy one.
I actually don't even know anyone who does, to be honest with you. I don't know a single person who owns Kinect.
Yeah, because the Kinect was just, in my opinion, a giant...
It was a flop.
It was a flop. It still is.
It was an attempt to cash in on the Wii and all of its interaction ability.
One of our commenters goes, it's non-functional garbage.
Non-functional garbage.
I completely agree. Non-functional garbage. Now, the reason I'm saying it's possible mandatory Kinect support is because the system itself will be coming with... this is pretty much confirmed. The system will be coming with a Kinect attachment at the release of the system in the box.
I'm not shocked. Microsoft has really been trying to push this thing. I don't understand why. What they had going for them was fun. They actually were able to keep people on an outdated system. It's really running off of outdated technology. I mean, so is the PS3.
Yeah.
But the Xbox 360 was especially low on the graphics engine, all of these things. But it kept people coming back and kept people paying this $50, $60 fee to play their yearly this yearly fee to play their games online. So I don't know why they're really deviating too far from their current strategy, which was working just fine.
Oh, I agree. But their fixation with the Kinect, I guess they want to try and compete with Nintendo in the motion gaming market. But the Kinect is just rubbish. It did not work at all.
I mean, at least the PlayStation Move sort of worked.
I never tried the Move, so I can't.
At least that sort of worked, but it wasn't. It was still.
And also, it's not. Also, Sony didn't jam the PlayStation Move down our throats.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft shoved the Kinect down our throats, our proverbial throat. But if it has mandatory, like it's supposed to be maybe a new version. I don't know. But I have no idea what sort of updates they're bringing to it. But here's the thing. If it is mandatory Kinect support, they hurt themselves already. Because with the current Kinect, the biggest example of the Kinect's failure was Steel Battalion.
I didn't play it. Can't even start to make any sense of it.
I played a demo of it at a friend of mine's house who had the Kinect, and I looked at him and went, why did you get the Kinect? His response was, it was for my little, I forget, it was little brother, little sister, I don't remember. But I tried it out. He had the Steel Battalion demo or the game itself. I tried playing it and tried to use the hand controls. The thing would not respond to whatever the heck I wanted to do. It was so unresponsive, I literally just turned off the system and said, I'm not trying this. It is garbage. But outside of that, in terms of memory, we're expected to a 500 gig hard drive on the system. So a good amount of storage space on there. The games in themselves, now the new Xbox is going to include installations like the previous generation, but here's the difference between the two. In the current generation, the PS3 and 360, if you were doing an install of the game, you weren't allowed to play the game whatsoever. But in the new version, while you're doing doing the installations, you'll still be able to play the game. And if they actually implement that, that'd be pretty cool. Because then while you're progressing through the game, you're playing. In the background, it's just doing an install of the game to reduce load times and all that stuff. It will be a 3D capable system if the developers choose to utilize it. So, and also some of the consumers have a 3D TV. Built-in Wi-Fi, pretty much standard nowadays.
Yeah, they can't. The last segment of Xbox 360
had the built-in Wi-Fi. So the built-in Wi-Fi nowadays
that was one of the things that a lot of people complained about early on, was the non-built-in internet connection.
The PS4 had built Wi-Fi right out of the gate.
PS3, yes.
PS3,
yeah, but the Xbox 360, the original ones, required hardlined internet connection, or you had to buy a separate Wi-Fi adapter, which was, I don't remember the price.
It was like $100, I think.
Yeah, it was. It
was expensive.
It basically it took the 360's price, turned it into the PS3's price, and it almost offset anything that was
right now. It's going to have the built-in Wi-Fi. That's pretty much standard. It's going to support 7.1 surround sound system. So you got your one subwoofer plus 7 speakers in your room. That's pretty cool. Now the big thing that a lot of people have been talking about with the Xbox that I've been seeing is the always-on connection.
Yeah, this has been
a lot of people have been talking about this. Some have been taking it way out of proportion. Some have been like under, kind of just taking it on the rug and like, oh, it's probably not that big of a deal. I personally, I think it's a big deal because we don't know how Microsoft is going to implement that always on. So
always online.
Always online connection.
Let's explain that a little bit to people who might not understand it.
I agree.
Basically, with an always online connection, what they're trying, generally the aim of this is to keep a digital rights management, a DRM, going. So that way no one can be using any sort of pirated game or Error 37. Of course, Error 37. But any type of pirated game or any type, like basically hacking the system in any way.
Right.
It prevents hacking somewhat.
Somewhat.
There's hackers generally find ways around these sort of things. And basically, there's two ways you can do it. A lot of times, an always online connection that it seems to be they're talking about is just that you're always connected, which is a terrible thing for anybody who either A, does not live in an area where you might have the best internet connection,
which is pretty much the entire central U.S.
Yeah, or a lot of countries outside of the U.S. that might have issues connecting to the internet regularly.
And what's even funnier is that the U.S. doesn't even have the best infrastructure for internet connection.
Actually, it's the Scandinavian countries do, believe it or not.
That's exactly my point.
Yes.
It's one of those most random countries in there, but they apparently have the best internet.
Yeah, well, we're like number 9 on the list for connectability or something like that. I actually did a study on this.
Yeah, I actually said a while back to a friend of mine that we're not even up there. It's the European countries have better connections.
Yeah, Scandinavian countries specifically have some of the best internet connection. But that's besides the point. We're not going to go on this tirade about which internet is best and what country does internet best.
Exactly.
But now here's the thing, though. I mean, I kind of like the Steam way of doing it, where they kind of test your connections up front and make sure everything's okay, but they don't do it all the time. It's not like if you that's. I'm not too big into Steam, but from what I read about it, and
I love Steam.
Yeah, Steam. I mean, I do like that. We have a couple of friends who are really big into Steam too, and Steam is an online downloading account and client for games. For those of you who do not know, that is used for computers. And basically, they test all these things, but it's not a consistent always connection. They just kind of do like periodic tests to make sure you're not going with them.
Exactly. Recently in the past, I want to say week and a half, maybe a little bit longer past that, there was a guy who he doesn't work for Microsoft anymore.
Unfortunately.
No,
for himself.
Unfortunately for him, yeah, because he probably
with this job market, who knows?
Exactly, and in this field.
In this field, who knows?
Exactly. The guy's name was Adam Orth. Now, if you know anything about this story, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Adam Orth was this Microsoft employee who decided to go into a flame war on Twitter.
I love flame wars, might I add.
Oh, I love them too. Sometimes they're the greatest entertainment ever.
I purposely I elicit flame wars.
Well, this one was elicited on Twitter. Now, Adam Orth pretty much said, now I'm going to quote the Twitter feed, the what we got from Twitter.
Yeah, read it. I actually did not hear the actual quote.
Now, this is pretty much how it started off. Adam Orth pretty much started off talking to this guy whose Twitter name I'm going to exclude from this for his sake. He pretty much said to this guy, those people should definitely get with the times and get the internet. It's awesome. He then immediately goes to, I want every device to be always on. And
this came off as a very the reason why I say it's unfortunate for him to not work for Microsoft anymore is because anybody with this level of ignorance should be making public statements, in my opinion.
It gets better.
Yeah.
It gets better. A whole lot better. Sorry, I don't get the drama around having an always-on console. Every device now is always on. That's the world we're living. Another guy on Twitter retorted with, I'm not going to say their usernames, but you can find out this information easily about who these people are. Commented with, did you learn nothing from Diablo 3 or SimCity?
Error 37.
And for those of you who have played SimCity, you know exactly what I'm talking about with the SimCity debacle. We talked about that already. We're not going to get into that anymore. You know some people's internet goes out, right? Deal with it is a expletive deleted reason. So pretty much, and then Adam Orth immediately goes with, electricity goes out too. Great logic.
Yeah,
great logic. The previous user pretty much replied with, you lived in L.A., San Francisco, Seattle. Very connected places. Try living in Janesville, Wisconsin, or Blacksburg, Virginia, which are pretty much, like I said, the central U.S. Midwest territories where the internet connection there isn't as grand as some of the developed suburbanite areas or the major cities.
Well, yeah. Well, basically, I mean, we don't need to go that far. Okay, read
one more. This is Adam. This is what pretty much sealed Adam Orth's coffin. He pretty much replied with, "Why on earth would I live there?"
Yeah, and like I said, people with ignorance of this magnitude should always be allowed to go through Twitter. I love Twitter for this. I don't actually have a Twitter.
We do. You can follow us on Twitter at gamenationradio.
I don't have a personal Twitter, I should reiterate. I do not have a personal one. I do check in with the Game Nation one.
Yeah.
However, I love Twitter for this. It is the ultimate in, like for years there was people who had foot and mouth syndrome, didn't think before they spoke.
I did. Or still do.
Yeah, you still do. This is the next level of that. This is the digital age version of foot in mouth syndrome. And I love it because you do not. It's 140 characters, right?
Yeah, 140, 150.
140, 150 characters. You got 140 characters to try and explain your point. And 140 characters is not enough to explain a point into great detail where you can't actually get somebody irritated. And honestly, from what I'm hearing with this, he just sounds like he has no idea who his audience is. Microsoft's core audience is the United States.
Pretty much.
No, it is when it comes to their gaming. The Xbox is biggest in the United States, and as you get outside of the states, it starts to teeter off as to whether or not people are still using it. So in order to piss off people within your core target demographic it's mind-boggling how any one person could think that by basically saying that the central United States are useless and shouldn't be lived in. We don't even need to go into greater detail about this.
No, we don't.
Self-explanatory.
It is self-explanatory.
It really is. I would love to meet this guy.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I would just love to and just ask him, like, what was the thought process going through your head?
Well, that's the thing, is there is no thought process with Twitter. If you type what you want, you hit send, and you forget that you are speaking publicly a lot of times. You think you're in an argument with one person.
Someone I watch on one of the other gaming news websites actually said you could set your Twitter account to be private so that only people following you or certain people can read your feed. This guy apparently forgot to do that.
Or he just didn't even care.
But a couple other things about the Xbox, because we could go into this Adam Orth debate for a long time. And like I said, guys, if you want to join in on the conversation, come into our chat room, join us in the chat room, or call directly into the station at 347-327-9451. We'll get you on the air, find out who you are, and you can just join in on the conversation, give us your opinions on anything we've talked about already. Pretty much, before we get into our next topic, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention about the Xbox. I read an article recently that it's possible connection with TV and cable boxes. So that kind of goes into the fact that Microsoft kind of wants their Xbox to be the central unit in a person's entertainment room.
Yeah, I actually don't see that happening. I can't see anybody really
using
focusing their entire living space around a video game system. But we'll see how that happens.
We'll see how that and I just read an article recently, like a little more updated tech spec. Nothing really big changed that. The only inclusion was the new system will probably have a Blu-ray drive.
Finally,
I know.
Like that shouldn't even be an announcement.
That should just be implied.
Standard. It's an imply. Like that. The Blu-ray is the
HD.
only. It's the only thing left.
Remember HD DVDs?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where were you going with that?
My point is that I could have sworn the Xbox was using HD DVDs format the entire time. Then I think it was either you or another mutual friend of ours.
We both pointed out that you're an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I'm hosting a radio show. Figure that out.
It doesn't. You don't have to be smart to host a radio show.
I'm
going to alienate myself from the radio community now, but
who cares? It's radio.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there who probably shouldn't be on the radio.
Also, this guy speculated the price point. He speculated anywhere from $4.99 price point to maybe a little bit higher than that.
I heard that there's going to be multiple versions when it comes to the gigabyte hard drives. It's going to determine the price.
I heard that too.
I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I wouldn't be shocked. That's what they did with the original one too. With the 360.
Correct. They're probably doing that with the PS4 as well. But most of this information and whatever we will find out is we'll find out on May 21st everything that we can. Now, are they going to give us a price point on that date, a release date, a price point on May 21st, or do you think they'll save that for E3?
They'll probably save that for E3. I don't. Maybe we should get in touch with Adam Orth and ask him a few questions.
We should.
Yeah.
If we can get in touch with Adam Orth, that would be amazing. Get his comments on the show.
Yeah.
See, like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah. You know what? Let's try to get on that.
We should try. If anyone knows anyone who can get in touch with this guy or get me his email.
Well, can't we just contact him via Twitter? We have his Twitter, right?
You can contact him via Twitter, but I'm
sure he probably has a lot of free time now.
Probably. He's probably busy job hunting. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Right now, we got to get into another big announcement that happened. Also take care of it.
Yeah, I'll take care of this one, because this one, I really like this.
Yeah.
Bethesda has unveiled that they have a new IP coming out that is going to be entitled The Evil Within. It's going to be a survival horror game that is going to, I don't know if it's going to utilize how much of their systems it's going to utilize, but it's going to be released on the 360, the PS3, PC, and also next gen consoles sometime in 2014.
So it's not going to be a launch title, you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is still early phase development stuff. But they're partnering up with Tango Gameworks. I've never heard of them. I will look up what other stuff they've done soon. But the best part about this is that it is a survival horror game that is being developed with a partnership with Shinji Mikami. Do you know Shinji Mikami?
I know the name, but I don't know what properties he's worked with.
He worked for Capcom for a really long time.
Okay.
So if you see where I'm going with this, he was the original Resident Evil guy.
Oh.
So, I mean, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I believe I mentioned it on the first episode.
You've mentioned it on countless occasions.
And I'll continue. But the way that I'm looking at this is I still love the Resident Evil series, but for me to say that it hasn't changed at all, or even like sit here, I can't with a straight face say it hasn't become different. Like anybody, and I agree with everybody who said that it has changed a lot. I personally think that the changes were fine. I never really complained that much about the style change, but there are the hardcore fans that don't agree with me, and that's okay. That's their opinion. I'm not gonna.
Your opinion is the series has changed.
This is a definitely a good thing for anybody who's a survival horror fan. It's a dying game breed, really. It's like a dying game.
Well, from what I read the same article, and from what I read, they're describing it as a survival horror action game.
Which I don't really know how much action will be involved. Like I said, as of right now, all that we've heard is that Shinji Mikami is involved. Mm-hmm. Bethesda is involved, which Bethesda makes amazing games.
They make amazing games, but I think they're only involved in like a publishing aspect.
But even when they're just being involved,
just having their name attached to it
is a good thing. I mean, with anything that they've touched recently has pretty much turned to gold.
Right.
So, but the only thing that really has been released is a 2-minute teaser trailer. Unfortunately,
it doesn't give you a lot of information.
Well, unfortunately, it's live action.
That
so
too.
It doesn't really show gameplay. It doesn't show anything like that. So we're gonna we just have to look at it as such.
So, but based on Shinji Mikami's past works, do you feel it more be like a jump scare horror game, kind of like Dead Space or anything like that, or more like psychological horror? Like,
well, I think that that's unfair to say that about Dead Space. First of all, Dead Space, whereas there are jump scares.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I love the jump scares. I have been desensitized to them now. I actually have trained my body in such a way where I don't even move on jump scares. I just kind of spread my eyes a little bit.
You're just like, oh, that was scary.
Yeah, that was a jump. But that's kind of unfair to say because there is a lot of psychological horror going on in Dead Space. Dead Space is really the only thing that's been holding up the survival horror genre right now. It's like everything else that has tried has failed.
Well, you also have games like that have held up the survival horror games, like Slender, Insomnia.
Well, Slender wasn't survival horror. It was just horror. It was a very short walk around, run into a guy who's kind of scary. Like, it wasn't really survival horror because you didn't have to keep an inventory or anything.
Insomnia was pretty scary.
Insomnia was good. Amnesia was good. These games, those are good games. But there's been a lot of failed attempts too. Like Alan Wake was a failure at the survival.
I never really played that game. So.
Alan Wake, I played it, but it just never resonated with me. It just never really worked for me. But like I said, Resident Evil has completely changed. It's gone almost the pure action route. The series that was also synonymous, it was the rival to Resident Evil, of course, was Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Completely fallen off its high horses to being scary. So we're just pretty much, we've been, us survival horror fans, kind of been in a lull lately, where we have to either deal with action games that are kind of scary,
or go back and play
and play the classics. And, Dead Space has done a really good job of keeping us there, but even they have kind of gone a route where it's a little different now.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this will end up being a game series. I hope at least that can start to prop up this dying genre.
Speaking of classics, actually, recently you remember the old Earthbound games?
Oh yeah, of course. Ness. Anybody who's played
Luke, Ness.
Yeah, anybody who has played Super Smash Brothers and knows who Ness is now. If you don't know what game he's from.
Shame on you.
Well, yeah. He's from Earthbound and Mother.
Well, Mother was the Japanese name for Earthbound.
Well, yeah.
Well, but the one Earthbound we got was actually Mother 2.
Mother 2, the sequel. Mother 2. She's really pissed.
Exactly. The reason I'm bringing it up is because Earthbound is coming to the Virtual Console on the Nintendo Wii or DS or both.
Probably both.
So
it's kind of since it runs off of a pretty old engine, it could probably be put on the DS really easily.
So it's coming to the Nintendo Virtual Console. So if you're a fan of the Earthbound games, do that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of fans are asking for I forget the company who owns the Earthbound license right now.
I don't know. I could look that up, but
we could look that up.
I don't really want to.
But they want Japan to bring to the U.S. Mother 3, or if you want to call it Earthbound 2, you can call it Earthbound 2. They want to bring it over, but here's the thing though, the game was never translated.
Oh yes, I read about this. There are fans who are willing to translate it.
There are fans who are willing to give the company their fan-based translations, which I don't know the quality of, or just to speed up the process of translating it to get it over here. They're willing to give them the fan translations to help speed up the process of translating these games and getting them stateside, because there's a huge amount of Earthbound fans out there that I did not realize wanted that game.
Yeah, well, Earthbound has always been one of those very cult followy games.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, it has really become an even larger cult, if you will, since the release of the first Super Smash Brothers and subsequent releases afterwards. Because a lot of people at first didn't even know who Ness was. So what they ended up doing was they did a lot of research. A lot of research as far as they just had to type in. To Wikipedia, Ness. And they found out that, there's a whole series of games here that probably a lot of people didn't play, and it was kind of interesting.
It was.
It's all about, I don't want to give out, because if it's coming out soon, I actually don't want to give away anything.
You don't want to give it away?
For anybody who might want to play it, I don't want to give it, but just know that Ness and his powers, if you can imagine those in more of a, not an action game, like a almost like a Zelda-esque.
Kind of. It's
game.
like a Zelda-esque mixed with old school Final Fantasy style RPG.
Yeah, it's a really unique thing. I mean, I've only played a little bit of the first one. I wasn't a huge fan of it back in the day, but I have played it, and it is kind of an interesting combination. So anybody who might not have heard of this game, if you can get it, if you can try it for a decent price,
give it a shot.
Try it out.
But outside of that, recently, now I know a lot of you already know that THQ is dead. Their company is dead. Gone. And at the beginning of this month, there was a huge auction being held for a lot of THQ properties. There was another series of auctions done around the 15th, or announced during the 15th. The sales were finalized. The legal aspects won't be done until beginning or middle of next month.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
there were 3 big franchises sold during this auction. The couple separate companies. The big one, if you're a science fiction or RTS fan or a combo of the two and have played the Homeworld series, they have a new home now.
They have a new home world, if you will.
I like the pun.
Gearbox, correct?
Yes, it is. It was Gearbox. Gearbox now owns a Homeworld franchise, which is a double. Now, I have Homeworld 2. I love that game. It is such a fun RTS, especially if you like playing modded versions of the game. There's a huge, great modding community out there for the game. So many great mods. Some like just add-ons like the Complex mod or total conversions of the game for bring it into like Star Wars universe, Star Trek universe.
Yeah, definitely.
All these great mods. Now, the fact that I'm a bit hesitant with the fact that Gearbox bought it. While Gearbox is a great company, when it comes to their own IPs, they're amazing. When it comes to other franchises, they're a bit miss. Duke Nukem Forever.
Yes.
But then again, that's a whole nother debate. But my point also, Gearbox has never done an RTS game before. They never have. So if they were to make a Homeworld 3, which I hope they do, if they make one, I'm a bit skeptical, mainly because their team doesn't have the experience in an RTS. Now, they're great game makers. Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 are amazing games. But with the RTS, I'm a bit skeptical on. If they do make it, am I going to get it? Oh, hell yeah. I'll get it. Will I like it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like a crapshoot almost.
It is a crapshoot.
The other big winner was the Swedish publisher Nordic Games.
Who the hell are they?
I don't know what else they've done.
I've tried looking them up. There was a bunch of articles on who the heck these guys are.
Well, it doesn't matter who they were. What matters now is that
what they
got, and those two series are Darksiders and Red Faction.
Yeah, they got the Red Faction franchise, and
which both already have multiple titles. As you know. Darksiders. We actually talked about Darksiders.
We Darksiders last episode.
Yeah. No, not last episode. The episode before. We talked about Darksiders. How it was kind of like a hidden gem in and of itself. Red Faction, another series, kind of like it's a sandboxy sort of.
Well, the one that was sandboxy was Red Faction Guerrilla. The Red Faction 1 is one of my favorite games. I love that game. Red Faction 2 was meh. Red Faction Guerrilla was pretty good. Red Faction Armageddon was trash.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter because now it's under the IP is now
owned by these guys, and
so it doesn't matter who they were before because now they are the Darksiders and Red Faction people.
They are,
and they are looking to extend these series.
Of course.
Into the future. One of the more impressive.
They also bought a bunch of other minor franchises.
Yeah, well, the total publisher, the publisher paid a total of almost $5 million, $4.9 million. I'll just list off a few of the things that they got here.
All right.
Besides Darksiders and Red Faction, or Dark Faction, that would be really cool.
That would be a cool name.
They also receive Frontlines, which they receive Destroy All Humans, which I thought was done. So hopefully if they make
another Destroy All Humans game, that'd be. I love 1 and 2. I didn't play anything after that.
Yeah,
but those games were fun.
Titan Quest, another one.
Okay.
And the Summoner series.
Mm-hmm.
There's a much larger list, and you can actually go and just find this out.
You can find this out online.
I mean, they basically bought the entire library.
But like I said, they did make the. Someone just told us that Nordic Games made the Painkiller games.
Oh, Painkiller, yeah. I used to call that Excedrin the game. Yeah, that's a Painkiller.
So I was about to say, because I wasn't sure if they were like a publishing arm or an actual developer themselves. I could have sworn that they were more of a publishing arm. Now, whether they develop these games in-house or they kind of just hand the franchises off to people for them to develop, and they're just like, oh, we'll just publish it under our name. You develop it, we'll publish it.
I have a feeling that that's not the case, but
probably not. There were a couple other people, in terms of Darksiders at least, that wanted
wanted to buy the franchise.
One of them, also Homeworld. Yeah. One of the people that did put the bid on it, I think they were the second highest bid.
Joe Woods Entertainment.
Joe Woods Entertainment was one of them.
Yeah.
And the other one was, of course, Crytek USA. Crytek USA was, I think, the second highest bidder for Darksiders, at least.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked. Crytek seemed like they were really interested in buying up as many IPs as they could.
Well, here's the reason why Crytek USA wanted it. Crytek USA was originally Vigil Games, the original developer of Darksiders.
Yeah.
So they wanted their property back home so that they could develop it properly, make it a great game, possibly update the graphics engine. I mean, imagine Darksiders in the CryEngine 3.
One of our posters just put out that they only published the game.
Yeah, I read that already. That's why I was like, I could have sworn that they were just a publisher. But in terms of Homeworld, there were a couple other developers that got there. The biggest one that I wanted to point out was Team Pixel. What Team Pixel was, it was a bunch of Homeworld fans. They started a Kickstarter fund to raise money to buy the franchise and literally make the games themselves. It was just a bunch of fans who loved this game so much and wanted to buy the franchise, and then possibly either make it themselves or hand it off to a developer they feel could make the game best. But they can only raise like $50,000, so I don't even think they were in competition for the Homeworld franchise.
Back to Nordic Games real quick.
Yeah.
Something I forgot to mention. On their official forums, anybody can go on there. If you're interested in any of those series that we mentioned, or if you find on the list you're interested in another series, you might not even realize that they own the rights to a series that you enjoy. You can go on their forums. They have an official section specifically designed for player feedback on the future of these gaming series. Mm-hmm. Specifically, the ones they're asking about are Darksiders, MX vs. ATV, the off-roading series.
Yeah.
Red Faction and Titan Quest, but I'm sure from what it sounds like, they'll take any feedback.
They'll take any feedback, right? Yeah. But like I said, they bought the properties, but the sales aren't finalized. They still have to go through the court system of transferring the properties over, and like I said, that won't be finished until like mid-May. Yeah. And by then, we'll probably hear about a bunch of other franchises that got bought from various other companies.
I can't see anything being overturned here, though. Usually, any overturning that occurs is that what they're trying to do is trying to assess any monopoly possibilities, stuff like that. And this really doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
There's no such thing.
Also,
there's no point at this where it feels like it's anything close to that. So, and they also double check for any insider information being traded. If there was any fraudulent behaviors.
Okay, so
to exclude a possible purchaser. Which, from what it's looking like, every bidder put out their numbers. They put out the bidding numbers for everybody. I don't think that there's going to be any hold up in court here.
I don't see that either. But to the guys who got these franchises, all I gotta say is do them right. Do them right. If you mess up these franchises just a smidge, you're gonna have well, then again, it's like this in general, but you're gonna have so much fan backlash that it could hurt you more than it. Now with
there is nothing more scary than a bunch of angry, ticked off
nerds.
People who have sat in their basement for a really long time, and I know because I'm one of them.
Well, I don't sit in a basement.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Sat in an area.
Sat in their entertainment man cave. If you're a guy, or your entertainment cave. It just be not sexist.
The kitchen. I'll take the brunt off for you.
Okay, okay. You'll get that one.
Get that one. I don't care. I don't care.
But in terms of other that, there were a couple other announcements. Like recently, everyone, if you read Game Informer, you obviously know about Batman Arkham Origins.
And if you read Game Informer, you're also aware that it's completely biased.
Oh, of course. But that's neither here nor there. Like Batman Arkham Origins, this is one of the games I'm really excited for this year.
I am excited for it, but at the same time I am scared because it has changed developer hands, and that is traditionally a bad thing. I think it could still be good.
Okay.
We had a discussion about this recently.
Did.
You and me have talked about this several times.
We have.
It is definitely, I mean, they have a template for successful games.
Yes.
That they just, if they follow it, and the writing, if they can get good writing, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Now, Batman Arkham Origins was originally developed by British company Rocksteady, but Rocksteady gave the developing rights of this game, at least. I don't know about the Batman Arkham City as a whole or not, but this game to a newly formed studio called WB Montreal. So it's Warner Brothers' own small little gaming portion.
It's their in-house game.
It's their in-house games, yeah. So they gave it to these guys, and from what I've seen and read so far, I'm excited for the game. The story pretty much, like, this is non-spoiler stuff, but pretty much the story takes place around Christmas Eve. It takes place way before Arkham Asylum and Arkham Origins. So this is not really a lead up to those games. Picture this storyline being like around the time like Batman Year One is pretty much where they're taking most of the inspiration for the storyline.
I would think that's like
Batman Year One in terms of comic continuity, if you know what they're talking about.
Batman Year One, might I add, great series.
Oh, of course, yes.
If you haven't read it, read it. There's also a movie that does a really good job of following the storyline. Great stuff. Check it out.
Yeah.
That's a sidebar.
Pretty much the main story consists of like the entire city of Gotham is open to you, by the way. It's not just the small little section that was Arkham City. It's the entire city. So the map is going to be huge. Yeah. I think.
Well, can we pull back for a second here?
Sure.
Okay. One of the things is, you and me discussed this actually, that Arkham City, whereas there is this open world feel to it, it is what I like to call semi-open world.
Yes.
Whereas there is a lot of, you can move from location to location. A lot of the levels, or the quote-unquote, sections of the game, took place within confined areas. The Penguin fight, Mr. Freeze, things like this. So whether or not it's going to be, the open world is going to play a huge factor into it is not quite, or whether it's not, it's just going to be more like essentially a giant, get to one section, get to another. I mean, it worked well. I mean, Arkham City was still great. They did have some missions outside in the open world.
Yeah, they had some. They had,
like chasing down Zaz's telephone calls and stuff.
Yeah, an overworld, pretty much.
Yeah, but the way that it could, I don't know how much of Gotham City is going to be available and how much is going to be interactive.
True.
So,
but
go on.
Pretty much the main story consists of the main villain, who I'm going to reveal in a second, hires 8 of the deadliest assassins in the DC universe, at least, to the main villain of the story being Black Mask. Now, I'm actually excited that they're making Black Mask the villain is twofold. One, it's a new villain being the main villain in a Batman game, because usually you have Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face, Freeze, the most popular ones. Not many people know who Black Mask is. Yeah, and that's why I love it. It gives us a chance to see these more minor villains, in the Batman universe, or in DC universe in general, come out to the light and say, "Hey, I'm here. Yeah. Where's the storyline centered around me?" Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah. So now there's some pretty big speculation, and I'd say it's very accurate as to the ones that people believe are going to be the assassins.
Ones that has already pretty much been
confirmed. Deathstroke the Terminator is number.
Deathstroke is already in there.
And Deathstroke is, anybody who watched Teen Titans knows Slade. That's Deathstroke.
Or played Injustice. Which we're going to review later, by the way.
Yeah. We're going to give a full review, not a preview review, review. Okay. But Deathstroke the Terminator. They're talking about a lot of speculation that.
So who else would you like to see?
Well, Deadshot.
Deadshot, okay.
He's going to be there. Because he was very underplayed in Arkham City. I think they could have done a lot more with him. His boss fight was almost pathetic.
It wasn't even a boss fight. It was just, okay, oh, he's turning his back is towards me, sneak to the next cover. Yeah. Oh, here we go again. Okay, I'm in the grate. Okay, and knockdown.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That was his boss.
It wasn't really anything special. It was very underwhelming, and
there's a
so hopefully they can redo that. But I mean, there's a lot of assassins that they can use. The entire league of assassins.
Ra's al
Ghul.
You like one of
Talia al Ghul.
Talia. Maybe redo the introduction of like, oh, this is Batman's first meeting with Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, they're saying that a lot of this has nothing to do with the origins of Batman, but more so the origins of the villains. It's right now there's a lot of stuff being.
There's a lot of stuff, but we'll find out more as time goes by.
This is a story we're going to continue updating.
It's going to continue updating. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff here, like the assassins. The most recent update, which I'll get to in a sec, but we'll find out more as the year goes by. The game's coming out in October. October 25th, to be exact. Yep. So get your reserves in now if you like reserving games. I've already got mine in. But the big story that came out so far, which ticked me off, I don't know how you're reacting to it.
Well, I don't hear which one you're talking about.
The game is supposedly going to have multiplayer to it.
I'm not sure. It depends on how forced it feels. Like, if it's just something that they've designed just to have fun, kind of, it's something like the way I look at it, like Uncharted 3 was like this, God of War Ascension, games like this where the multiplayer wasn't the main focus. Some of the Metal Gear games did.
Yes.
Where the main focus was still the single player. If they just want to throw it in there because they have the game engine, and just as a little side thing, just to have fun. Okay. Or there's nothing wrong with that.
They kind of did that with Assassin's Creed as well, but the nice thing they did with Assassin's Creed, though, is it kind of made it tie back into the story in that the multiplayer in Assassin's Creed was actually just the training regimen for the Abstergo agents.
Yeah, but exactly. Basically, the way I look at it is, if they're going to go that, make something like that, as long as it isn't the main focus, and the single player mode is still useful. And still, it's not useful. That's a terrible word. But still,
the focus.
The focus. Then it's not really. It doesn't make a difference.
No. So what do we got next? We got. Let's see. We brought up the Ratchet and Clank movie.
The Ratchet and Clank.
Clank.
You got some Clank feeling?
Hush.
No. Speaking of Hush, that's one character that I'm upset we probably will never see in a Batman.
Yes. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
We
that
thought
would have to be its own game.
We thought we would see him in Arkham City, but nope, it's not.
They actually even hinted towards him in Arkham City.
Well, if they make a Batman game after Arkham City and a true sequel, then maybe Hush will be one of the villains in there, or either Hush will be the main villain, Azrael could be the main villain. Mm-hmm. They kind of gave a little.
But they gave a few things, teasers. But back to the Ratchet and Clank movie, we didn't really mention it. I mean, there's not much to say about it.
There's not much to say about it.
It's going to be in the Ratchet and Clank universe, obviously.
But it's not connected to the games at all.
Yeah, it's its own standalone. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, it's going to release in 2015.
Yeah.
It's a total CGI movie. People who like that series, the Ratchet and Clank series has actually lasted a really long time.
Since the PS2 era.
Yeah, early PS2, almost like launch title level PS2.
Yeah.
And it has probably 9 games at this point. I mean, it's teetered off. The original series kind of was way better. Now they're into the future series.
Now this is where I'm interested in this. Why I'm interested in this is I'm a big opponent of video games being adapted into movies because 9 times out of 10 they tend to suck.
Well, yeah, one of the problems with a lot of video game movies is one of two things. Either people are expecting to see the game be played out in front of them the exact same way they played the game, which I never understood,
kind of like Doom?
Yeah. But what I never understood is why you need the exact storyline to be in your movie. You played the game, you know the storyline. What's the big deal? What I kind of like is let's just expand this a little bit. We got time.
We got plenty of time to expand it.
Let's just expand this to further than Ratchet and Clank. Actually, a series of movies that I've actually 2 series, and I mean it's going to go along with my likes to begin with. There's a couple of movies based around Resident Evil that aren't those god awful Mila Jovovich gore porn spank fests. that have come out in recent years.
You're talking about the animated.
The animated ones, yeah, not the ones where the guy is just making movies to make his wife seem sexy. You know,
even though she is, but that's beside the point.
But that's the thing is, like, basically, like the way I feel about the live action Resident Evil movies is that they're just long love letters written to the director's wife. The director is married to Mila Jovovich.
Yes.
The only reason why the movies are still being made I don't get it. Don't get me started.
People still go to see them.
Yeah, not nearly as many as they used to. But they actually have a animated series of movies that are segue storylines between major games, which tell the story of the in-between. Mm-hmm. Degeneration and Damnation are the names of them. Mm-hmm. Specifically, they take place between 4 and 5 and 5 and 6. So basically, they're continuity without just telling you the story of the game that you played already.
Right.
Which I find that to be a good way. Another series did the same thing. Dead Space also did it.
Yes.
They had Dead Space Downfall and Dead Space Aftermath. I haven't watched Aftermath yet. I have it insta-queued on Netflix. I just haven't gotten around to it. It's been a busy semester. But the way that Dead Space Downfall worked, it was the prequel to the game, which told the story of the Ishimura and how that ended up happening.
Okay.
So these kind of storylines where they're almost like, you know, details that were missing from the game or like, you know, details that would have normally not even been told are interesting. So, you know, that's what I'm kind of hoping Ratchet & Clank does.
Yeah. Well, from what I've been reading so far, it's a totally independent movie. The game company's not even developing the movie. The game company is just, they have the writer of the games writing the script for the movie, but a totally different studio doing the modeling and all that stuff for the movie. But I do agree with you in that there are some video game movies, like one of my favorites is Mass Effect Paragon, which is kind of like a go-between story in between 2 and 3. Yeah. And I love that movie. But those movies good. But the ones that are like you take the video game, adapt it to the screen, they are very hit or miss because there's so many factors into it. I could go into this all day, but we're running out of steam on this topic. One more topic I want to bring up before we get to the review is, I don't know if any of you remember this, but a while back, some guy...
Well, hold on. You're getting ahead of yourself. First of all, we need to tell them the game. That way we can explain what.
It's a series of games. Okay. It was any game that had this certain word in it.
Yes. Okay. So
the Edge trademark.
The term Edge had been trademarked by a guy.
Yeah. Some guy. I want to try and
the word Edge. Now, like think of this. Think of this for a second. If you were to say, I was on the edge of a cliff, you are effectively breaking the law because you haven't paid this man royalties. Go on.
Pretty much. But yeah, he trademarks the word Edge, which puts a halt to all these games. One of them being Mirror's Edge, a really good game.
Mirror's Edge was a game that had a lot of promise, and as a series, and it just kind of got halted immediately because of this D-bag of a person who, I mean, oh man, it's when people do stuff like this.
Yes, but pretty much, what he did was he trademarked the word Edge, so the companies were like, okay, we don't want to pay this guy royalties, so we're just going to halt the production of the games until this goes by. Several years go by, and the trademark finally got canceled recently. So now you'll start seeing these games come out with this. And the reason the guy trademarked it wasn't because he hated the companies or anything like that. He just wanted to be a real-life troll.
Yeah.
It was taking internet trolling and bringing it into reality. That's all he did. That's the only reason he decided to do this.
Well, his trademark ran out, and it's
not so much his trademark
ran
out. The courts repealed his trademark.
Yeah, the court said no.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, and it's basically done. Yeah, it's essentially like one of our commenters just said
it's literally copyright trolling.
Literally copyright trolling. It's one of those things. It's like the next level of what is it? I can't think of the term all of a sudden.
I can't think of it either.
When you website names, like a URL.
URL.
It's like a next level of like URL copywriting just to prevent people from using things. It's like it's even worse than that though, because it's not even for profit. It's just for stupid. And it's it's just to be an annoying person.
This is one of those things we really can't discuss at length because A, we don't have all the information, and B,
who cares
exactly.
anyway?
By this point, who cares? So right now, we're actually going to get into our review portion of the show.
Yeah, I would say it's a good time to do that.
Now, we've got 2 games to review. One we both played, one I recently just played, which was the new Star Trek game.
I didn't play that.
Yeah, I got in. I've got thoughts on that game. My God.
I can give a review, even though I didn't play it. I'll try it. So, I can.
But pretty much the one we both played was Injustice: Gods Among Us. Now, if you listened to our episode 2 weeks ago, we kind of gave a review of the game, meaning we played the demo of the game and gave a review based off that demo. Both of us gave it a 2 out of 5.
We were a little bit harsh on it, but not much.
Not by much.
Not by much.
Some of our complaints were valid. Some of them were kind of like, okay, we probably just sucked at the game.
Well, it's one of the things is the combat system, like I said last time. I just feel it feels very clunky.
It does.
And
now that
I'm sure if somebody gets really, really good at it, it could look more fluid.
I recently played against someone who was. Last Saturday, I was with a bunch of friends of mine, and I played it against someone who was really good at the game. And first off, he whooped my ass. He completely kicked my ass on that one.
Yeah.
But he just made the game just like flow. I was like, okay, you know what you're doing with the character, so obviously you can make the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah.
Good pun.
Yeah.
But my big I'll start my review first. I'll go first because I have a few more thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. I played the story mode for the game. Story mode, I've seen the story before. Mm-hmm. And the way I'll describe the story is such. Like, I'm spoiling it, but at the same time, I'm not spoiling it with this phrasing. It's Crisis on 2 Earths in terms of story.
Yeah, basically.
Crisis on 2 Earths. That's all I'm going to say about the story. It's okay. I mean, the fact that they got most of the people who did the voices in the Justice League animated series was a nice thing. Like, you got Kevin Conroy as Batman, George Newbern as Superman. Phil Lamar was not Green Lantern in this one. Phil Lamar was Aquaman.
And that's a demotion.
It's a demotion. Not really, because Aquaman in this game is pretty badass. But picture this. It's a black guy voicing a white guy.
Oh, whoa. You can't go there.
No,
whoa, Brian.
It's funny.
Funny. No, I'm not even touching this.
Okay,
I'm leaving the room.
We're
not bringing race onto this show.
I retract that statement.
You better.
I retract that statement. I apologize.
We're not going the racial route. We're not pulling the race card.
They didn't get Nathan Fillion to voice Hal Jordan, which kind of annoyed me because I would have loved to hear that.
I see. Okay.
And Clancy Brown is not Lex Luthor, so But then again, these are like minor nitpicks. But the combat system, I agree with you, is...
In my opinion, the combat system in any fighting game is the most important factor of the fighting game. So
it is. And the fighting system is clunky as hell. Like, I've played with pretty much every single character. Some characters move like, oh my god, it is really hard. It's not even a Mortal Kombat fighting system. Like, I know a lot of people were expecting it to be like, oh my god, it's Mortal Kombat with just DC characters. This is going to be amazing. Not really. The combat system is kind of a blend. It's a blend of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter.
Yeah.
In terms of their combat system. Graphic-wise, the game looks amazing. It is a beautiful-looking game.
That's what really holds up the end.
So, and I've tried the multiplayer. The multiplayer system is really good. The servers are stable. You can actually watch other people fight. In the game.
That's always good.
It's not like in Super Street Fighter 4 or whatever, it was just 2 cards clashing at each other.
Yeah.
It was actually, you could actually watch the fight and be like, oh, that guy's cool. There's some really interesting game modes. So, based on everything I've said so far, if I were to give the game a final score, my original score was a 2, and I'm kind of on the fence on this one. I want to give it, like, if I were using our old system, I would give it a 2.5. But with the way it is, it's leaning more towards, like, I want to say it's still pretty much. So if I were to give it a final score, I'd give it a 3 out of 5.
I have pretty much all the same things to say here. I just wish, I really wish that they would have expanded the storyline a little bit more. It seems like it basically ends up, you run through it pretty quickly,
Well, yeah, like the storyline you can beat in like.
Well, it's a fighting game. It's not
so
take long.
Storyline you can beat in like 4 hours.
Yeah. And so basically, the way I like to look at it is, anytime I look at a fighting game, the combat system is my main thing. And I had issues with this, but I will admit when I was a little bit wrong, and I was a little harsh on it. But then again, it was also the demo.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bump it up to a 3 as well.
Okay.
It's an average fighting
game.
So
it's an okay fighting game. If you're a fighting game fan, you'll love it. If you're not a fighting game fan, you'll look at the game and go, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna be it's not the fighting game that's gonna drag people into the fighting game.
It's the DC Universe characters. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what dragged me into it. It's like, oh God, I'm gonna have Superman versus. Oh, and speaking of which, the way they explain in storyline why these characters can go toe to toe and have like an even ground fight is so stupid. If you've played the storyline, if you played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Joker puts it best, but I don't want to reveal it because it is just.
It's worth listening to.
It's worth listening to. It is stupid beyond belief. Oh my God. But the other game I wanted to review real quick, this is going to be a really quick review on this one, was the new Star Trek game. Yeah, I bought a movie license game, so sue me.
I
will. Great comment, by the way. You got it.
I'll take care of it.
But the Star Trek game. Now, the way they sold this game was as a very heavy co-op game, which means you were supposed to play this game with your friend. You really weren't supposed to play it single player. You can play it on your own, but single player on your own, it is challenging and boring. I got the game on the PC. The co-op doesn't work. The co-op don't work.
By the way, Brian, how is the easy mode in this game?
I'm playing on medium.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
I'm playing on medium.
You tell me that about every game, and then I find
I'm playing it on medium, I swear.
Okay.
I am not playing this game on easy.
Yeah, go on.
Anyway, the co-op in the PC version... Now, I've heard people saying the 360 and PS3 versions of the game's co-op servers work, and they have fun with it. But I have the PC version. The co-op does not work. I get constant server crashes, constant, timeouts. It's ridiculous.
Did you ever think it might be your internet connection?
It's not my internet connection. Everyone who has the PC version has had this problem.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I've looked it up, and I've checked with people who've so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
And the storyline for the game is pretty weak. The combat system, it's stereotypical, but the big focus of the game, if it doesn't work, that is a big hit on me. But the storyline, I could care less about. The combat, I've played it before. So in actuality, I would give this game, this is one of my rare times where I would give the game a 2 out of 5.
I didn't play it. I'm going to give it a 1, only because it's I just know it's a movie license game, so I'm going to give it a 1. Wholeheartedly believe that from the bottom of the cockles of my heart. I do not think that any time that they make a movie license game will it ever come out good. I think there's been 2 in the history of the 95,000 of them that have come out. So
yeah. So pretty much right now. We pretty much. Do we have anything else to talk about this week, or did we cover all our bases?
No, I think next on our next show we're gonna look at a couple of things. We're gonna see what news comes up.
Yeah, there's gonna.
I'm gonna do another retro gaming.
You want to review what game you want to do now for that, or are you?
No, I'll save it.
You'll save it
because I don't want people to go out and find out the information on their own, and then what's the point of me giving out the information?
Yeah, I agree. So
it's going to be a good one.
So next week, of course, we got more news stories going on. We'll have more developments on all these stories if they continue. like updates on Batman Arkham Origins, if there are any, updates on the Xbox, because as time goes by, as we get closer and closer to that May 21st date, more updates will be coming out on that.
Oh, do you happen to know, when does The Last of Us come out?
Last of Us, I don't know the date off the top of my head. I think it's either June or July.
Okay, because I have it on reserve, so...
It's a June or July, so we're going to be getting that game, and
Yeah.
that's definitely one of our reviews we'll be doing.
Yeah.
Not many big games coming out next month.
It's kind of a...
It's a dead month.
Dead month,
It's a dead month because it's segueing between the spring and the summer. So not many big games coming out next month that are worth reviewing. There's probably like one or two that I'll play and review, but not many that are worth it. So from me and Russ, thank you guys for joining us. We'll hope to see you guys in 2 weeks for our next episode of Game Nation. But until then, I'm Brian Bonardi.
I'm Russell Pierce.
And take care, guys. Have a good day.